Before we start today's episode of ELI10, I wanted to give you a trigger warning. Dear listeners and viewers, this is a topic which will probably make you curious to find out more about trads and raitas, and it might take you to deep, dark places in the internet which are not pleasant places to be in. So, big trigger warning. The guest on this podcast and me have done our own personal research by through the internet. There is no real documentation for this, so this entire podcast is going to be based on our observations and our theories about what we think is happening in the trads versus raita battle. So be warned, don't go to those deep dark places on the internet if you can help it, and if you do remember this trigger warning. Now on with the show. What is trads versus raita? That is the topic we are going to deal with today. This is a question that a niche group of internet people have been asking for a while, and it has sent people down many rabbit holes of the Indian right wing, which they didn't want to be in. And it is a small question, but it has a very, very big and very interesting answer. It might also sound like a stupid question. What are trads? What are raitas? You might not have even heard of this before, which is understandable. You don't live on the internet, I assume, as much as I do, or as much as our guest does. And our guest today on ELI10, where we ask small questions which have big answers. The big answer person today is Raj Shekhar Sen. Hello, Raj.
Hey, Meghnad. Hi. Uh, do you want to get into trash versus raitas? Just think for a moment before we get into this journey. This is a brutal
I do.
journey.
Abhi, I was talking to someone in my
Mhm.
household, and they were like, "Do you really want to do this?" I'm like, "Yes, I do want to do this."
This
Let
is
me
th-
introduce.
yeah.
Let me introduce our union leader of spectators also, who is laughing away, confused. Kajol Srinivasan. Hi, Kajol.
Confused and slightly horrified. Okay, Meghnad, you woken me up at very early in the morning, and the first thing you say to me is, "This might be slightly controversial."
But I thought you would be actually a great person to have for this episode, was because I will just read out her bio to prove my point. Okay, so Kajol Srinivasan is a comedian, but she's not just a comedian. She's one of those people who rare people now who likes to make jokes on politics. Okay, her own bio reads, "My jokes bring all politicians to the yard." So please, I think this is great for you, Kajol.
I
Okay.
just love this.
Yes,
Okay.
let me introduce Raj Shekhar Sen to you as well. Raj Shekhar Sen is a podcaster. He has this very fun podcast called the Bharatiya Janata Podcast, where he and two of his friends get together, talk about current issues, but basically bakchodi karte hain, about politics and about a lot of other things and internet culture primarily, right? He's also a columnist who writes for News Laundry, and he writes a lot of deep dive articles on a lot of things which we will actually talk about a bit more. But why I got Raj was for two reasons. One, he's an absolute nerd. Like, I mean, he's one of those people on Reddit who go down many, many, many rabbit holes and then pull out things which are like, kya ho raha hai? Like, why am I doing this to myself? Right? He's that. And the second reason is because he's in the US of A, and
So
he is
safe.
exposed to, yes, safe, and also exposed to their own kind of
Yeah.
trads versus raita battle happening there. So let's begin. And before we begin, a big disclaimer to our listeners. Uh, Guys, if you are going to be offended by this podcast, please get offended. Please comment below. Please tweet about it. But please share the link with it. Okay. When you tweet out outrage about this particular episode, I want to see a link there. Please. मुझे ट्रैफिक चाहिए. Okay, so please don't. And of course, काजोल को तो गाली मार ही सकते हो तो That's a usual
Of course, why
occurrence.
not? Why
Yeah.
not?
So, okay, guys. So let's begin. First, Kajol, I want to ask you: do you know what is Trads versus Raita?
Okay, good question. Because I remember it was a fight between two factions of the right wing, but I thought it was over and done with. Is it
Mm,
not over and done with?
It's never over.
this episode will blow your mind, Kajol. Let's just put it mildly. Okay, fair enough. Raj, do you want to add to that? What is Trads versus Raita?
I can keep adding to that. Like, where do you want to? So let me start with like the more recent history, right?
Hmm.
In the last 8 years, political landscape in India has
No,
shifted.
Raj, I'm going to interrupt you right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? This is ELI10. Explain like I'm 10. So you have to explain it to me like
Okay.
I'm 10 years old. What is Trads
So,
versus
so
Raita?
trads
Very
means
quickly. Yeah.
trads means traditionalists, and
Yes.
Raita is a mispronunciation banake of right wing,
Right.
right? So
Raita.
within the sphere
Yeah.
of right wing, there is Raita and trad traditionalist. And by the way, trads now have also bifurcated, but
Yes.
that's for
Yes.
later.
We'll come to that. We'll
Yeah,
come to that.
and then Raitas.
Yeah.
And quickly, so according to trads, the Raitas are people who are like basic as right wing, so
Hmm.
who are nationalists and support authoritarianism and a lot of those like good economics, where small government, whatever, right? Those kind of things, traditional ideas of right wing, if you will, which includes, according to them, free speech and women empowerment in the
Yeah.
please, and also this is right wing that wants, because we are talking about India and Indian right wing, so we have to talk about the religion, the majority religion, right? And so they believe in like caste, like all castes should come together and form the right wing. Trads, on the other hand, do not believe in any of that. They do not believe in feminism. Well, like they believe that females should stay home and cook, essentially,
Yeah.
and they don't believe, like they believe in caste system, to put it like simply. That's the
They
most
they are
basic.
they basically believe in Savarna superiority.
Yeah,
Right.
some
So
of
and
the, if you go, like as Meghnad was saying, if you go into some of these Reddit subreddits, some of the memes will, like, you'll want to wash your eyes with bleach after it.
yeah.
They are so
We
kind of,
will talk about that. I have done intense research on
yeah,
memes for this one.
yeah.
Uh, okay, wait. Kajol has to say something. Kajol,
Yes,
I can see a
yes.
thought in your head.
Okay, so this entire battle has now moved to Reddit because I don't see them on Twitter anymore.
It's
No.
always been on Reddit primarily, but it has leaked into Twitter. Let's put it that way.
Okay,
Yeah. And
In
also YouTube. So just to give people also an idea of
Yeah.
what is Trads versus Raita, right? The way I understand it is it's a subculture battle
Yeah.
on the internet primarily. But what happened very recently, and you will see, you might remember this, there was this case called Sulli Deals that happened,
yeah,
where an app was made online, which was by this person called Liberal Doge, whatever, right? They were auctioning Muslim women out, prominent Muslim women in this app, quote unquote, right? A lot of shit went down. Police went and basically arrested two people for this, etc., etc., right? But what came out of it was there is this group of extremely traditionalists, as Raj put it, but I would call them extremists, who are essentially leaking into the real world and having effects now. It's like how in the US, QAnon was this subculture that was just on the internet, 4chan, anonymously, doing really radical things, etc. But that leaked into real life when they started showing up at rallies. When the
okay,
January 6th insurrection happened, there was a breakaway from QAnon, which actually came there as well. So in India, there is a Trads versus Raita battle happening, right? Which is the Indian right wing, and I use the term right wing very loosely here. We will define it properly as well. That is the point of this whole podcast. Okay, does that make sense?
okay. I'm just curious about one thing. Are they okay with being called Raitas, like among themselves? To
It's very interesting, Raj.
So basically, it's like Trats call themselves Trats, so they are Trats, uh, and Trats call the other group Raita, right?
Hmm.
Raitas don't really call themselves Raita, or I mean, now they have kind of taken it in. So in some
Co-opted
instances, you
it.
might see it,
Hmm.
but they did not name themselves. They were named by the Trats, and if so, I see at the end, like what initially I was going to say, right? That every country will have a right wing. Every country will, like political group, like no, like all of us are I think are leftist liberals. I don't know.
Hmm.
However, I define myself as a leftist liberal, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but I understand and accept the fact that in a political spectrum, in any kind of democracy or country, there will be a conservative faction, right wing, whatever, right? What usually what happens is whatever is at the center, around that, right and left is defined. In
Hmm.
India, especially due to the media kind of moving into what we would call Raita, or what a trad would call Raita, they the media has become the Raita has become the center of India. We are
Will
all,
I want
yeah,
to? I want to.
This is such a well put point. Okay.
Yeah. This is actually the Overton
yeah,
window which he's
yeah,
describing.
yeah. It has
So
moved there. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So for the listeners, what we are going to do in this podcast, and right at the beginning, I want to do two things, and there are going to be many disclaimers like these today because I don't want to get into trouble. But if I do get into trouble, please share the link with it, right? As I pointed out earlier.
And Meghnad will do the
Um,
podcast from prison.
yes. But and my disclaimer first off is that, guys, I think we need to make this a very nuanced conversation, right? Which is essentially, I also wanted to ask Kajol and also Raj, what is the best way to talk about right wing in India in a way which it seems reasonable and fair, or it is reasonable and fair? Is there such a way?
Kajol, do you want to?
Kajol, do you want to give a stab at that?
I'm going to go after
Raj, yeah.
Raj. Yeah.
So as I was saying, right? See, something that I have accepted is that right wing will exist. Maybe I'm not part of it, but it will exist. So, and me, Kajal, we can imagine a utopia of our, like whatever our fantasy of utopia is. But even in that, there will always be conservatives, right? They have their own kind of moral spectrum, whatever. I may or may not agree with it. That's a different thing. So does like right wing is not, again, however I may feel about it, they are not stupid, right?
Hmm.
The problem is, unfortunately, the problem, at least from my point of view, when it comes to India, is that unlike say American conservatism, there is not a lot of literature to back it up. So a lot of what we call right wing ideas are basically traditional conservative ideas like in the context of India, based on a lot of religious, like basically you have like your Burke and Nozick and those kind of people in like in the West. In India, I don't. I mean, the most intellectual right wing I can think of is Swapan Das Gupta, and I don't know if like how if you guys
Fair
compare,
enough.
yeah, right? So my goal to be here is to like I want to empathize and I want to kind of give this trad versus Raita also a very fair shot
Hmm.
um, in this discussion.
Fair
And before I pass the mic to you and Kajal, just one thing. Bharatiya Janata podcast is the podcast that I go, and I'm not this balanced in the podcast. And also on my Twitter feed, Discourse Dancer, I'm not really super balanced, but I'll
enough.
try to be my
Balanced.
best today. Yeah,
Yeah. Fair enough.
Okay.
yeah.
Go on.
Okay. So for me, all right wings derive from religion. Okay, all right
Hmm.
wings are strongly based on religion, whether it's America or India. And as a woman, because religion itself is not very fair to women, so I have never understood how women can support any of those ideals.
Hmm.
So to me, it's misogyny. Okay, to put it very bluntly, as a woman, you have to be liberal. At least liberals give you a voice.
Hmm. Interesting. That's a very interesting way to look at it, Kajol. Okay, then the second disclaimer I wanted to give on this, but before that, let me tell you what I think how we can discuss this is I feel like the right wing is a spectrum, Like
Yeah,
any identity, like gender, like cultural identities, like religious identities. I think political identities are a spectrum, right? What we traditionally refer to as, or just like paint the brush on the right wing right now, I think are Modi supporters. Just that one basically focal point, and how all the people that are giving even like levels of support to Modi are right wingers, right? BJP, Modi, RSS together, right?
just one
Um,
point.
yeah,
10, we are not even 10 minutes into this podcast.
yeah, of
And,
course,
and you've
of
mentioned
course.
the
I've
names.
mentioned Adarniya Modi ji, of course I
Yeah.
have. But I mean, he's a very basic point to this entire story that we are trying to unravel. It is actually true, right? Okay, so I take a stab at defining the spectrum a little bit and the elements to it.
Go
Okay,
for it.
so I look at the right wing this way, right? There was 2014 that happened where a bunch of people voted for Modi, right? Within that, there were reasons why people voted for Modi, right? And it was not just one reason, there were multiple reasons. One was people were tired of the Congress, so they were like, Inko hatao, right? So anti establishment. Second was free market people who were like, the Congress is interfering too much into our business. We need to do business in a more free and fair manner. Hashtag Gujarat model, right? Then there was the culture warriors, I call them, which is basically people who think that the anti Hindu crowd is getting stronger and destroying our religion slash identity as a Hindu, right? And we are not getting a fair chance. So hashtag Hindu khatre mein hai, right? Then there was also young people who just came of age during voting in 2014 ke aspas. And their political consciousness came in with Modi posters everywhere, saying that they are great, he's the best person alive. And also Rahul Gandhi's memes of him being a pappu and incompetent idiot, so vote for Modi, right? That young crowd, which is now I think 10 years older today, right? I think are about 8 years older today, right? Then there was obviously the RSS and the existing BJP and the Modi fan base, right? So that is, I think, what forms the overall right wing. But also, one more category I would like to mention is the poor, who were dependent on welfare. They thought that Modi is the best person who can deliver that welfare to them in a most efficient manner, which Congress wasn't able to. So I wouldn't say they were right wing, but in a lot of ways, they are also considered right wing now. Go on, Raj.
I just wanted, so you're right that when we look at kind of Indian political context right now, everything that you said fits. But when I think of right wing, essentially I like there are economic right wing and
Hmm.
then social right wing.
Yes.
Right now, economic right wing talks about uh, free market and a lot of those things, but essentially welfare is bad, right?
Hmm.
And then there's social right wing, which has all those social religious things that like Kajol mentioned, and those kind of things. One line, if I had to explain what is right wing is people who believe that the status quo is good and the status quo should not be touched and we don't need to change the status quo, which basically
Hmm.
means that whoever currently is in the situation of structural economic social power is usually would be in support of whatever the status quo is. They may or may not be right. Like all three of us, I'm have a decent amount of privilege, right? But
Yes.
but so we may or may not be part of right wing, but the right wing support comes from these groups, be it US, be it India. So basically, people who support the status quo are right wing, is how I see
Fair
it.
enough. Fair enough. Okay, second disclaimer question
Mhm.
was that let's just define our ideologies a little bit, because
Uh-huh.
I feel like the audience also should know who is on this podcast right now. What do we represent as ideas? Like as Raj has said, he's a liberal. I would like him to define it a little more. But Kajol, would you like to define your ideology overall?
Okay. I'm not religious. I would
Hmm.
never support a government that drew from a religious standpoint, because okay, since you're going for gold, let's go for it. I find that books that were written thousands and millennia ago do not define what we do now.
Hmm.
And essentially, since all of them were written by men and were written to propagate this entire world of men, I don't support it.
Sure.
I am very into a live and let live world.
Hmm.
I believe as long as you're not doing harm to someone, you're in the right.
Hmm.
Sorry, you're in the right place, not the right way.
Right.
Okay.
So the trads will
Important distinction.
yeah. So the trads will call you DH apostrophe I apostrophe MMI.
What is
Dhimmi.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard it. What does it mean?
Well, it's a pejorative term for Muslim or Muslim
Ha
people
ha
who've
ha.
accepted Islam. So
I
yeah.
get called that and rice bag. I don't
Oh,
know
The
why.
rice bag convert is a thing which is, I think, a reference to Kerala, where I think the British or the Christian missionaries tried to convert people
all
by
it's a
giving them
all tribals,
rice.
all tribals who
All
converted to
tribals. Yeah, yeah,
Christianity,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Go on, Kajol. Finish.
So that is basically it for me. Maybe I'm not even looking for a government or a group of people who bring in
Hmm.
radical change or anything of that sort. I'm more interested in people who don't want to take it the other way.
Hmm.
I'm okay with balance,
Yeah,
and yeah, that's just it. I don't have any religious beliefs.
very fair point. Raj.
I don't have any religious beliefs, but I don't think. I mean, I my name is Shekhar Sen, RSS. I spent the first 18 years of my life, at least like from age 8 to 18, going to a shaka. I come from a family that is very into the BJP, but for that, listen to a News Laundry podcast. We can share the link. Sorry,
Yeah.
but so why do I think like the way I think? In 1947, India becomes independent, and from the vestige of British India, two countries are made: Pakistan and India. Pakistan decides to become a religious theocracy, and India, which lost a lot of its population because of partition, at that moment could have decided to become anything, including a Hindu country,
Hmm.
right? But India said that, okay, you have gone, you have decided what you want to do for yourself, but that does not change my identity. I was before I was a country that had all faiths, all kind of people, and just because some people have decided to move out, that does not change who I am, and that is what I want to stand for. I am really patriotic. I really love India, but I love the idea of India that stands against this idea that India is two country, one of Hindus and one of Muslims, and everything
Hmm.
that I do or everything that I say is in service of that. That is my political ideology.
That's a very 90s advertisement pitch, Raj, I must say. On Bharatiya Janata
हम
podcast, they actually reacted to a 90s ad which said exactly this. They were like
हाँ
all these celebrities going, हाँ हम
हाँ
सब एक है, हम
वो
सब
सब
अच्छे
अभी
हैं,
वो सब भी नहीं
सब
कर
साथ
सकते,
में
ये
रहते
सोचो.
हैं. Exactly.
हाँ,
It's the Overton window shifting. We'll talk about that.
yeah.
Okay. I define myself in the following way. You will now see a picture in front of you. That is my political compass. I have just done that, right? So if
Okay.
you go to this wonderful website called politicalcompass.org, you will
Yeah.
find a quiz where they have like this long list of quiz, which is like will take you 20 minutes. Do it properly. It will tell you what ideology you belong to. Now, the picture you see in front of you is a quadrant, right? And the dot you see there is where I lie on that quadrant, right? So it's like it's a plus just because Kajol can't see it. It's a quadrant. The top is authoritarian, the bottom is libertarian. This is economic left, and this is economic right. Okay. Now, if you are someone who believes that we should be economically more free, but an authoritarian government should make it happen, then you lie in the first quadrant, right? If you are someone who believes that the government should have control on your economic policies, taxation, etc., how the businesses function in the country, etc., but at the same time you believe that the government should have less role in it, but at the same time there should be regulation, market regulation, you are a libertarian left, right? Now, trads. right, are my exact opposite spectrum there, right? And that is where I want to also draw a distinction. They are the ones who believe that we need an authoritarian government to ensure there is absolute sort of free markets, right? At the same time, there should be a government which is also creating these divides which are according to status quo,
You're being
right?
very polite to the idea. If like true trads will, women don't need to vote,
Yeah,
minorities don't need to vote. In fact, if there is a Hindu monarchy, they'll be completely fine with it.
yeah.
Um, I something I
I mean, they
during
want to replace the constitution with Manusmriti, so you
yeah,
know
yeah,
where they're coming
yeah,
from, right?
and
So
proper like proper like untouchability and everything.
absolutely,
Pro
like,
that I
so.
don't. Yeah.
But the interesting thing, Raj, there about
Hmm.
yeah, and Kajol, you'll find this very interesting. They use a lot of humor to do this, right? So they think that this is almost funny, that they make very very triggering memes, right?
Humor
So
according to them, right?
humor according to
Which is
them,
punching
right?
down.
Which is punching
Okay.
down. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Precisely. That's a great distinction to add there. Humor, according to them, it's not funny. I mean, like, the memes are not funny at all to me or to any reasonable person who does not believe in fascism. Um, I think they are, warping this entire ideology, this extremist ideology, in the form of and using humor as a vehicle. Memes. They used Pepe the Frog, which was a popular meme in 2005, which became very popular in 2010, then got co-opted by the US right wing. And essentially, they now look at it as a hateful symbol, right? Everybody looks at it as a hateful symbol. So
Not the
our
right way.
not the
The
yeah
Indian
not
right
the
wing would know this frog. Like they would understand the reference.
So here's the thing. Can I? So the
yeah
thing is, and before we started recording, I was saying this to Meghnad that see a lot of these move when we talk about trads or trads. Let's just talk about trads. It's an internet subculture,
Hmm.
right? So these people have access to internet. So usually these
Yes.
people are coming from a place. So and internet there is no country. So in most of the memes that Meghnad might have picked today are basically repurposed from. So well, there is this thing called manosphere
Hmm.
in the American and Western conservative context. The whole trads versus Raita kind of debate goes into manosphere, and basically all these are manosphere memes or red pill. I don't know if you've heard of red pill. They're
No.
red pilled memes.
Hmm.
You're so lucky.
No,
It's
What
like
are,
You're
what does
very
that
lucky.
beautiful
mean?
to be like
Oh,
in
please,
that
Raj,
place.
please tell her about red pill. I want to see her face after you do this.
How much time do I have? Like in the sense, नहीं, I'm serious. 3-4 मिनट में बोलूं.
हाँ हाँ, बिल्कुल
Honestly,
बिल्कुल गौर, अरे हमारे पास है टाइम, तू बोल ना.
देखो तो नाइन 1993 से शुरू करता हूँ मतलब बहुत ही मतलब बेसिकली 1993 में देर इज दिस बुक रिटन बाय वॉरेन फैरल द नेम ऑफ द बुक इज द मिथ ऑफ मेल पावर and the book basically says that yes we believe that the society will tell you that there is patriarchy and men dominate the society but look at people who die in the army, people who the most number of people who die by suicide and in road rage, all of that they are mostly men. And basically the whole book, and it's a problematic book
Yeah.
obviously, but the whole book makes the case for this disposable man. So a man is essentially there to earn capital and serve the woman and the kids and whatever, and that's the role, that's what the society has reduced his role to. That was the myth of male power, and basically it says actually women have more power.
Hmm.
So this is
Yeah.
kind of where the first kind of, I mean इसके भी पहले भी जा सकते हैं. I mean Hugh Hefner Playboy, what was Playboy anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly.
तो बेसिकली वहां फिर क्या होता है कि 2005 में there is this guy named Neil Strauss, and around 93 there are still things happening after people reading this book, but there's no internet as such. But in 2005 in US internet has come, and there is this guy Neil Strauss. He writes this book called The Game. Now what is The Game? The game is this book for young men who spend a lot of their time on the internet playing video games and stuff to almost basically like a video game cheat code to get women.
Yeah,
That is the
it's a
game.
pickup artist
Pickup
book.
artist book.
Oh yeah, I remember
PUA.
vaguely
Yeah.
that negging and all that. Those
Negging and
concepts.
Yes,
peacocking
Yes,
and all
yes.
this. So,
peacocking, negging, all of those
so
things.
do you guys
The
want me to
list
explain
goes on.
negging or peacocking, or
No, that's
should?
fine. I
Okay.
I
think
think every
people are
woman knows
okay not
every
knowing
woman
this.
knows
Ha, ha.
negging at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so then also Matrix, the movie comes in, and
Hmm.
there's this pivotal scene in the Matrix where they ask Keanu to take either the red pill or the blue pill,
Hmm.
right? And that is where this starts.
Yeah.
So these people think that they took the red pill and now they see the world clearly, and none of us see the world that clearly. And what they mean is basically all the traditional masculine tropes or ideas are basically red pill ideas, that women should be aapke niche, their place is in the home, and you could, like, you tell them what to do, they don't tell you what to do, you don't, basically you control them in in
Okay.
in simply put. So that is red pill. Now, why is red pill part of this conversation? Because when you think of trads, all trads ideas are basically red pill ideas,
Patriarchal in
patriarchal
nature.
हाँ again हाँ अब red pill में भी एक problem है,
Wait,
problem.
Kajol has a question. Kajol,
Yeah,
go.
yeah, go on, sorry.
Raj, is this the way they define their own ideology in your head, in their own heads? Because I'm having difficulty imagining a small 19-year-old in, say, a state like UP sitting at
Mhm.
his keyboard thinking he's taken the red pill.
No, so
No.
red pill is predominantly Western American
Hmm.
concept.
Ha! It
Huh.
sounds very Western.
But that, so basically it has filtered into India, and now when you see the trads, basically they talk the red pill ideas, but they are trads, right? So
Okay.
under this idea कि Hindu regime और वो सब, उसके अंदर जो भी चीजें हैं जो trad ideas है, they are basically red pill ideas.
Hmm.
They don't, I mean, some of them live in the bigger cities and all, I'm sure they know what red pill, and in fact, mm, Meghnad, it will not surprise you if you go to the subreddit, the red pill.
Hmm.
There are many desi bandas who would be like, hey, हमको भी ले लेना boss, हम भी तुम्हारे साथ हैं, चलो support us. So there is that is happening. But these are usually Delhi Bombay boys who are kind of who
Yeah.
have access to that information. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But,
so go on.
just to give you an idea, like how this gets contextualized a little bit with a very real world example, right? I had written a note on this. Okay, so trads essentially view other right wingers as liberal,
हाँ.
right? And they call
Modi ji
them
is liberal.
Raitas. They say
Modi ji.
Ji is liberal, and they call him Maulana Modi. So whenever Modi wishes someone on Eid, like the country on Eid, etc., Prime Minister wishing everyone on Eid, you will find these comments by trads saying कि अरे आ गया Maulana Modi, फिर से appeasement करने, right?
This is a
So-
revelation to me. I didn't know this.
So exactly, so this is where I think a little more nuance is also necessary thoda sa yahan pe, right? Which is, again, we are not painting this as a broad brush thing, because within, I feel like the as I described the right wing, right, the initially in 2014, right, now we are at a point where this right wing, quote unquote right wing, is dividing into different categories, right? There is still a chunk of extremely poor people who depend on welfare, and they became poorer by 2019, who became even poorer because of the pandemic, who voted for Modi because they still think that he is the one who is delivering ration to them, or he's 500 rupees in their bank account, right? So that is one chunk of Modi's entire vote base right now, right? But the original right, quote unquote, people who supported Modi, there were as I said, the culture warriors, right? Now in the culture warriors, there are two subdivisions I make. One is, of course, the moderately worried, who think that Islamists are coming, matlab Christians are also converting people, matlab ये होना नहीं चाहिए, like Hindus को थोड़ा खुद को protect करना चाहिए, and इतने साल तक हमने किया नहीं था, तो now we will be loudly protecting ourselves. So they go on the internet and they loudly claim that we need to be protected, right? The second, though, which is very pissed off, right? But so, for example, this crowd, the moderately worried, they are the ones who want to use the current political system, the constitution, and bend it their way and change it in a way that it benefits them, establish their idea of the nation, right? But then there is this other crowd now, which is even more extreme, right? Which is saying that मेरे को constitution चाहिए ही नहीं, क्योंकि इससे तो कभी होने ही नहीं वाला ये. I want Manusmriti. I want the entire legal system to be based on traditional Hindu ideas. I want India to be a Hindu Rashtra. I want the caste system to come back. I want Savarnas to be superior. I want women to be in line, right? All of those ideas which follow. And I think you know which ideas I'm talking about, right?
एक इंटरनेट एनेक्डोट. सो मेरे पॉडकास्ट के लिए एंड मेघनाथ सुनता है तो उसको पता है, हम लोग कभी कभी वी गो ऑन टू द इंटरनेट एंड वी सी व्हाट मोदी फैंस आर डूइंग, राइट? तो एक एपिसोड में वी वेंट ऑन कोरा and we looked up. If you go to Quora is amazing. So there are questions like, is Modi ji an avatar of Vishnu? ऐसे क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं लोग एक दूसरे से.
Yeah.
So there was this question, is Modi ji an avatar of Vishnu? And for our podcast we were just reading the responses. People जो भी लोगों ने कमेंट किया, yes he is, yeah, you know, all that. और उसके बीच में एक रिस्पॉन्स मिलता है कि are you kidding me? Are you serious? How can you do this? तो मैंने पढ़ना शुरू किया तो मुझे लगा कि ये मतलब शायद अपने जैसा बंदा है कोई, you know. And by the end of it, it was like, ki, how can you call someone who is an OBC a Vishnu avatar?
Oh no!
समझ मतलब
Yeah.
उन्होंने ऐसे पीछे से आके ऐसे घुमा के so that is what trad is. Meghnad, memes ki jab when you talk, sorry, Kajol,
One second. So for trads, if Modi is not the poster boy, then who's the poster boy? Yogi.
There are again divisions in that also. For example, I what I've seen, right? I mean, there is no documentation or scientific evidence. This is actually based on, say, Raj and me both going into our separate sort of rabbit holes and pulling out things and understanding from it. So please, disclaimer again. I think there is definitely a crowd which is a big Yogi supporter who think that he's even more traditionalist than Modi is, right?
Because the overturn.
But there is also a crowd which believes that because Yogi ji came up because of Narendra Modi, he's also like that, and once he comes to power, he will have to compromise because he's also like going by the same constitution ultimately, right? Even if it will be changed or whatever it is, right? So in a way, there are more divisions that keep happening there. There is a Yati Narsinganand fan base which think that he should be the one who should be the ultimate ruler of everything, right? Yati Narsinganand. I mean, think about that, right? It's bizarre. Like, you know, like it's there is no real answer to this, I guess.
A part of trads are also like where they don't care about politics. They don't care who is in power. They want these things. And to kind of your question, Kajol, something that you were saying, Meghnad, right? Memes, right? Dark jokes or dark memes come from a place of existential angst, right? I mean, at the end, like people who really appreciate that, they have some existential angst in them. And you know, the existential angst is a privilege of the privileged. And so when we talk about these very dark memes, which I shudder to even think of right now, and these trads, they are essentially, see, this is me trying to be the most empathetic to these folks. They are coming from mostly men, mostly young men, 19, 20, 21. They're coming from a place where society has told them, or their families and family structures have told them, that they are here to win the world. They are the, be it the caste, be it the kind of the social positioning that they've had. They are about to get everything. And then when they start looking at the real world, they say things like women wanting more rights, right,
or reservation,
or reservations, caste-based reservations, things like that. And they, so there are two ways to kind of deal with it. One way is to kind of take a step back and think, bhai, do I have some advantages compared to other, and accept that and then support these kind of things. Or second, think that my world is the just world. My parents, my father, his father, they come from the just world. And this is called the just world hypothesis. So if everything that I know and I understand is just, every problem that I see must be something that someone else has created. So
Hmm.
you blame women, you blame poor people, you blame different castes. I mean, and a very छोटा सा example of this will be, how many times has this happened, and anyone listening, watching, when your parents told me कि बेटा पढ़ोगे नहीं तो ऑटो चलाना पड़ेगा.
Yeah.
What is that is basically this idea that someone is poor because of their own fault, क्योंकि उसने नहीं पढ़ा तो वो
Okay.
poor है, right? So now you take this into this trad verse. They are making fun of these people because in their mind somewhere they've convinced themselves कि ये जो भी problem है ये इनका खुद का creation है, or in some cases it's like they go into genetics,
Hmm.
and they talk about how they are pure Aryan, and that is why they are better, and that is why the others were, their ancestors kept them under their
Got it.
shoes. And
Yep.
yeah, so it's
Um, I
yeah,
want to take a break here, but after
mm,
we come back, I want to get into a few very interesting concepts like the Overton window. And
sure.
also, I want to give you some fun facts about trads that I found. So, see you right back after this break.
Hello, hello, hello. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Cyrus Drives, Cyrus is joined by Puneet K. Goyal. Puneet is the co-founder of Blue Smart, India's first all-electric ride-hailing service. Driving around the city in the Volvo XC40 Recharge, Cyrus and Puneet talk about how the taxi service sector around the globe is adapting to electric vehicles. Don't forget to check out the video edition of this episode on the Cyrus Says YouTube channel, and there are some really funny bits over here, especially pay attention to what happens when they hit the toll plaza. On Postcard from Nowhere's Ireland Untraveled series, Utsav explores foghorns, their colonial connection, and the X Club, a not-so-secret scientific organization. On Credit Smart with Sybil, Anupam, and Sujata decode some of the factors that might hinder a good credit score and help you arrive at solutions. On Storytellers and Story Sellers, Vineet is joined by travel vlogger MSK, and they talk about how his fear of the camera actually helped his vlogging career. And on The Longest Constitution, Priya talks about slum eviction, as well how the use of contempt of court has crippled freedom of expression over the years. Once again, I'd like to remind you all, don't forget to visit our merch store. It's on ivmpodcast.com. We have a link to the store. It'll take you to our partner's website, beyondfollow.com, and you can go directly beyondfollow.com/IVM. Also, do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Please do spread the word about this show or any of the other shows that you are listening to. You can do this by telling a friend, because word of mouth is helpful, or rate or review these shows wherever you're listening to them. That is also really helpful to us. And just a reminder, a number of our shows are available on YouTube as full video podcasts. Do check those out as well. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week: Bumble, Volvo XC40 Recharge, Heads Up for Tails, HDFC Mutual Fund, and TransUnion Civil. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Hello and welcome back to Explain Like I'm 10, where we ask small questions which have big answers. Today we are asking the niche question: what is trads versus Raita? Now, we have endlessly spoken about trads. I think we should speak about Raitas also a little bit, right? Trads essentially are the ones who give Raitas their name. Now, Kajol, just to add to what Raj said earlier about Raitas come from what right wing? It's a, right wing, Raita, so something like that. But also, it has another connotation कि these are guys जो Raita फैला रहे हैं. Like
Got it.
everything we have, every big Hindutva plan that we had, ye log are the raitas in that, where raita fela rahe. They are ruining all of our plans, the civilizational plans, like the plans that go like millennia ago, etc. Whatever, right? Now, the raitas are more mainstream, right? And when I say mainstream, you will see them on a lot of TV debates, right? They are more mainstream and they are super uncomfortable. Some of them are super uncomfortable with the trads, right? So, for example, when the Sulli deals happened, or even the recent case happened that with Bilkis Bano, right? They were garlanded, the people were garlanded, etc., who did the deed. And you would find actually a lot of BJP supporters and even office bearers sort of going and saying what happened is wrong. Like they shouldn't have been, let go. They shouldn't have been. Now, these are the ones that are called raitas, right? Which is essentially they have their own conservative views about culture, religion, politics. They want the constitution to be changed into a certain way, but they will not go to an extent where they would be like, caste system wapas aana chahiye. They wouldn't be like, oh, women should be in the house, right?
Got it.
They want women to join this fight with them and then do this. They want all castes to join this fight of the umbrella Hindu, as we call it, and essentially do this fight with them, right? So those are the Raitas, and the trads hate them and the Raitas hate them. Now, the fun fact about Raitas, one fun fact, I will give the other one later, is that there is a group of Raitas that actually believe that trads are a conspiracy of the left wing. Yeah,
Why not?
they believe that the extreme left has infiltrated and created these right-wing trad accounts to create divisions within the Indian right wing and create a fight between trads and Raitas.
Yeah, वो January 6th का, like this reminds me of January 6th where
Antifa,
a lot of,
yes.
yeah, Antifa. Antifa, this is Antifa.
Yeah, it's like all the people who came and attacked the Capitol Hill were Antifa. They are actually secretly, they're pretending to be Trump supporters, something like that. So that is one fun fact. But I want to get into the Overton window. Kajol, do you know what an Overton window is?
No, I don't.
Okay. Okay. So Raj, you want to take it up and sort of take a jab at it?
Of course. Before kind of, I one thing that you were saying, right? So for trads, anyone who claims that they are, say, supporting BJP or Modi ji, but is engaging with the left or engaging with Muslims or engaging with any group that is quote unquote not voting or not supporting BJP, there everyone is Raita. So that famous website, news website, is also Raitas. In fact, they when they talk about trads, they say we are Raitas. They call themselves Raitas. You know the famous place that I'm talking about.
Op India, bol
Op India. We are Raitas with a soft spot for trads. Is a sentence.
It's a very quotable quote from the article that I also read.
Seriously?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
They actually say that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to the I think Meghnad, you'll do a better job of explaining the Overton window, but in the most essential form, the Overton window is the window of normalcy, or whatever is the current balance. So initially, as I was talking about, if you look at the news media today, the news media for the history, news has been the bearer. Like, अभी अगर मैं आपको बोलूं कि नागपुर में बारिश हो रही है, यू आर नॉट इन नागपुर, आई एम नॉट इन नागपुर, the only way to confirm it is by a third person who we believe is a specialist is giving us the truth. For most of the things, that is how we've agreed. Like, the earth is goal, none of us has really seen it, but we've been told by people we trust to tell us the truth. So so earth is goal. So news media has been that for politics. So we've accepted that the news will be coming to us in an unbiased form. So what happens when news, whatever they might claim, but what happens when news shift? For the majority of the people, the window of unbiasedness has shifted. The news center is whatever they are. And so that is the Overton window. And that is, like, Meghnad will talk about shifting of the Overton window, I guess. So
yeah,
this is like my simple explanation, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. If I might explain it, one video I would recommend you watch after this is the Vox explainer on the Overton window. It's very interesting, but the picture you will see while I'm talking is from that video, right? I'm using it to explain it. Okay. So if you imagine a straight, like a line that goes both ways, it's an infinite line, like left and right, right? In the middle is where we are, and it is things that are expected which are happening, right? For example, right now, if you go on TV in a normal day, when you talk about normal news, you will see, say, news on, say, a protest happening, right? Where a protest is, the news reporter is saying, guys, this protest is happening for ABCD reason. These are the ABCD points that they're raising that they want the government to fulfill, right? Then the other reporter will go to the government authority, question them, ask them, will you listen to these people? Why are they protesting? And what is your response to this, right? Now, it is made as a package and given to you, right? Now, that is normal, right? Think about it as normal. Now, What happens when the news media starts telling you, they show you a protest and say that, look, there is a sticker on that tractor and that person belongs to an extremist organization, so all protesters here belong to that extremist organization, right? And all news media start saying it again and again and again. They get talking heads talking about it again and again. The Overton window shifts, so that becomes normal. So it's the normalization of views which go towards the extreme, right? If you go towards that extreme also, it works the same way, right? For example, if a news anchor goes, oh, the government is very evil, we must take it down today, like it is just ruining everything, and these protesters are revolutionaries who are going in and they are going to fix everything, etc., and they drum up this whole anti-establishment thing to an extent where there is violence, right? If the news media keeps saying that again and again and again, now the Overton window shifts this side, right? What is happening in our discourse right now is our Overton window is shifting towards the Raita, right? So the Raita is the normal,
That is
right?
the
Those are
Overton
the
window.
mainstream.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the Overton window right now. That is normalcy, right? Now, when that becomes expected, the radical shifts towards the more right? So
Got
the
it.
the definition of radical and unthinkable becomes even further closer to you, right? So then the people who are having unthinkable, radical thoughts will think that these guys are actually liberal,
Got it.
right? They are the normal now, but because the right is shifting constantly into more extremes, right? So the Overton window of normalcy is also shifting. That is the concept.
You know what? When you're talking right now, okay, call me stupid, but I miss the simple days of my childhood when I could see the news and accept that as the truth. Social media complicates the world because then it made me start doubting what I saw and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And it's more difficult for people like my mom who have
Hmm.
accepted the news media as truth all their lives.
Hmm. Agreed, agreed.
Acha, can we quickly just talk, like, since you mentioned social media, how social media has fed into our mainstream media to be the Raita?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. But Kajol, to your point, I wanted to ask you this question also, right? When we speak about the Overton window, right? Around you, what do you think is currently accepted as normal, which you thought should not be accepted as normal?
This entire okay, so I think BJP. Should I? Okay, I think
Huh.
the way things are right now, what they have done is called out the elephant in the room. That a
Hmm.
lot of people thought a lot of things about minorities but didn't have the guts to say it.
Hmm.
And now when you walk down to your kirana, someone might just say, "Oh, that guy! Look at that guy. I think he's
Hmm.
Muslim or something like that." Okay, that is something I've seen only in the last, I don't know, 3 years, which is so
Hmm.
obvious and out in the face, and that should not be normal.
Hmm. Absolutely. And also
Yesterday.
one more, like for example,
Mhm.
one example I can give is of the Tablighi Jamaat, the whole controversy that happened during Corona, right? Which is, it was evil. Like, I mean, I have no other word to explain what happened on media back then, right? Where these group of Tablighi Jamaat people who were in one building, where obviously they also had violations, like they were not allowed to be there or whatever. Um, they were in the wrong in one way, but this was turned into like this massive conspiracy by them to spread the coronavirus across the country, and people on the streets were getting beaten up because of it. Now that is what is scary, right? Which is the Overton window shifts so much that this kind of violence becomes justified. This kind of, I mean, even verbal violence, which you were describing, Kajol, but also physical violence, right? The most extreme would be physical violence. So yeah.
How it
And
has
also,
shifted for us, like all three of us are very active on Twitter, right? Just yesterday, News 24 tweeted that in a hospital in Rajasthan, a woman was offering namaz, and the police
yes,
registered a case against her. Later, the police came and they said, no, we investigated and there was nothing wrong, blah blah whatever.
Hmm.
But the thing is, all of us thought that that's possible, and that
yes,
is the shifting of Overton window. It is possible today. Tablighi Jamaat, like we have even moved from there, is what I'm saying.
Past
Like,
that,
it is
yeah.
possible today to think that a random person offering praying in a hospital where basically everyone who believes in a god would pray is I don't even know, like अगर हाँ चलो वो मुस्लिम थे और वो नमाज पढ़, I don't know कि क्या केस करते, किस क्या, like
Hmm.
exactly, I don't
Or
know.
like that example which Kajol, I think we discussed in Cyrus's podcast also, about the people on the boat eating tandoori chicken,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Where a bunch of men who were on eating, like having hookah and tandoori chicken, the police filed a case against them, and it is actually expected to be normal ki ha police aisa hi to karega. It's weird. Like I wasn't that surprised by the whole thing. It's strange. Yeah.
Also say a woman is sitting with a guy on Marine Drive, and
Hmm.
a group of people come and ask her, okay, is he Muslim or is he Hindu? Then people can actually pick you up and take you to the police station for God knows what.
Absolutely. Even that is normalized now, which is like suspecting someone of being of different religions and being together, being taken to the police station for confirmation. That's also normal. It's kind of disturbing and mind blowing. And that's the thing. So like I think with the internet now, and this is a global thing. It's not just happening in India. It's actually happening in the US. It's happening everywhere. Raj, we should talk about QAnon a little more here,
For
right?
sure, I would love to talk about my favorite thing. Can you guys
Please,
hear me? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Please start with your favorite thing. What do you want to say about QAnon? So much.
QAnon. So, like, do we want to get into the history of QAnon?
No, don't get into the history, but just like essentially, let's just do a comparison between how QAnon became mainstream and how that is a possibility here.
I think it is already happening here.
Already happening,
Possibility. So what is QAnon? So QAnon is this phenomena in conservative right-wing America, where it started from this anonymous 4chan account called Q, and Q is Q level clearance in the American kind of secret, like confidentiality levels.
Intelligence.
Intelligence. So apparently, someone who has a Q level clearance, Q level as in the, according to these people, the highest level of clearance, which is also not true, but chalo, let's take it. Q level clearance started dropping things on of all the things in the world 8chan. अच्छा 8chan भी समझाना पड़ेगा, I think.
No.
Things,
Okay.
it is
I'll
like,
simplify this even more. Okay, Raj, whatever you said, I'm going to simplify this even more for a 10-year-old. So there are these bunch of people who believe that
Yeah.
there is this mysterious anonymous person / entity with a very high clearance in the government and knows all the secrets, the top level conspiracies happening there. Is going on an anonymous website called 4chan,
and later 8chan.
and later 8chan, but like let's
Yeah,
go chan.
same.
They go to this website and then they do q drops, which are these cryptic messages about revealing the conspiracies that are unfolding and what everybody should know about. But because this person is such high level clearance and doesn't want to give himself or herself or themselves away, they have to be very cryptic about it. So what happens is that this group of people, which call themselves QAnon, which is Q anonymous, they decipher these messages and apply it to real world situations.
It sounds like
Like,
religion, man. I
it
mean,
is precisely that. It is precisely that. Okay.
The
Weirdly
Capitol
enough.
riot attacks was
Yeah.
of so if you watch the videos, a lot of people were there who were Q supporters, but it was not a Q phenomena. It was totally pumped by Trump, and Trump has kind of sometimes allegedly, like,
Yeah.
now he's full Q, by the way. Now this Trump on Truth Social is full Q, but back then he alleged. But the biggest example of two
Oh,
biggest example of
can I interrupt you to just tell you how bizarre this got? Okay, so there was this speech that Trump was giving, right? Where he went to like the stage and said thank you to someone, right? So he said it in a way which went like thank you, right?
no.
So yes, so the QAnon people, they went on whatever, like saying that this is actually proof that Trump is now supporting Q, because right before that, 2 days before, there was a
this is
drop
also, by the way,
about
if
no
you see
there
this,
was a
What is
wait, there was
that?
a drop, there was a notification from Q that came that the president of the United States will soon support our movement, right? And 2 days later, this happens. So this was like seen as proof that the Q drops are actually true. So
The
yeah.
bizarre thing is that there are signals in the Q word. So this is a sign.
Yeah.
This OK sign is a Q sign now. So now anytime anyone around Trump, his kids or his supporters, if they are found in a photo to be doing this, for example,
It's a Q sign.
Michael Flynn, who was his defense secretary, he was doing it legitimately, but he did a barbecue, family barbecue, and in that he has like this photo, and they were like, yeah, he's supporting Q. But the most bizarre Q event, which I do not know if like it reached India. So after Biden won, the Q people were sure that it is fake. In fact, some people still believe that actually it is Trump wearing Biden's mask and is the real president.
Yeah.
But up until the point that he had taken oath, so he had been declared winner, but he had not taken oath. Q folks believe that this is all a ruse and he will be arrested, blah blah, whatever. That's not important. But they believe that Trump will November 2021 in Dallas, where John F. Kennedy died in 1962. John F. Kennedy Jr., John F. Kennedy's son, who also has died in 1999 in an accident, will appear because he has not really died. He was
Yeah.
trying to hide from Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, and he's
And
actually now
he's actually Q.
yeah, and he
Yeah.
supports Trump now. So they will both appear in Dallas, and Trump will say that I'm the president and he'll be my vice president, and then they will rule golden age, whatever. And these Q folks were in Dallas for 10 days on the street, standing there waiting for John F. Kennedy Jr. to appear.
Hmm.
Spoiler alert, he did not because he's dead. But
It was very funny. There are videos, Kajol, you can search of these people literally waiting on the streets, man. Like, in fact, I felt sad. I don't know why. Just waiting. John F.K. Jr. is coming. JFK Jr. is coming.
So basically, what we have is political cults. Okay,
Yes.
like they've transferred their entire belief system of born agains or God will appear again to politicians, and it's not sounding
Sort of.
stupid to any of them.
Sort of, but also so okay, so I the way I see something like a QAnon, right, is how people have lost trust in just the sources of information that they were consuming from years, right? Someone or somehow they themselves convince themselves that all this time whatever we have been reading and consuming was a part of some sort of larger indoctrination that is happening on us, right? Which is supposed to control us in a certain way, which is supposed to change our mindset. So then they get red pilled, which is essentially again drawing the red pill example, where it's like now we must escape this madness, and then they go into this another territory, which is the conspiratory territory, right? Now I'm going to anger one more group of army of internet activists
I know
and
who
culture
you're
warriors.
talking
Yes.
about.
This similarity was found in Justice for SSR.
वो आएगा.
Justice for SSR is another sort of group of people who came up with massive controversies around the death of SSR, right? And there are similarities that I found there and here as well, which is like their conspiracy levels became so high that it's like there are parties that were happening in Goa, secret orgies that were happening in Goa, where plans were being hatched and murders were being committed, and there is this. It's actually a serial murder case now, and then CBI is also compromised, and the highest level of government is involved in this cover up of Ye. Also, very bizarre because apparently SSR before what happened to him, he was leaving signals. He was always he's the one who developed the vaccine for corona.
I was going to say that's the most bizarre thing that I've heard,
Yeah.
that he developed. Also, like Akshay Kumar came up with a video game called 4G, which was
Yeah.
a
Oh,
rip off
yes.
of PUBG. But these people believe that actually the code for it was written by SSR.
SSR, yes.
And SSR also had a telescope, and he was seeing deep into the night skies and all of that.
Yeah, because of that painting, the Starry Night. So
Yes.
his banner was Starry Night. So exactly, yeah. Go on,
So,
please.
Mike, I've always wondered this. Are they fans of his? Are they really invested in SSR? I always thought till today it was a politically motivated thing and it was just
Um,
like a ideology that pulled over themselves to do stuff. I don't know.
the way I looked at it, so there is a story that News Laundry has done on this also. Like you can check it out. We'll put the link also below. On they found the person who basically was sort of leading a crowd of these Justice for SSR warriors online, and why he or she was doing it. So you can read that story. But based on that, my overall theory is that there are a lot of people who are looking for identity. They're confused and they feel like they don't have an identity, personal identity. They don't have a tribe that they belong to. They feel disillusioned by their own family tribe. They feel disillusioned by their colleagues and classmates, etc. They become loners, and then they find this tribe online, which they just start ingratiating themselves. They get validation first, like someone would like their tweet, right, about something, like they are supporting SSR, so they like their tweet. Then they go on and escalate to skewer, then 3 likes, then 10 likes, then 11 likes, and then they start forming communities and talking to people who also think like them, and then this becomes like a tribe by themselves, and it becomes an identity for them.
मेरा एक
My think is that QAnon and this, and also trads in a lot of ways, is a like a cultural phenomenon of this and the internet.
So quickly on SSR, my theory is that people in India largely do not understand mental health, right? I mean, I guess all of us agree on that. Secondly, so if you look out of all the film stars that have been, SSR comes from a small town. He has a relatable life before he became a movie star. And for most of us, when we look at someone like SSR in his life, we think, "Bhai, sab kuch to tha iske paas. Why would he do
Mm,
that?" Right? And people are not able to accept that, because if I put myself in SSR shoes, or any random person does, I have all the happiness of the world. I'm this movie star, people know me, I'm a celebrity. So why would I do that? And people are not able to accept that. And that is something that you'll see happen over and over again. That is also why life is essentially meaningless. So
wow, that's like a random line to throw there.
बता रहा हूँ क्यों बोल रहा हूँ. So think about someone like a Netaji Subhash Bose. People, even now, people believe was in that. I'm just saying, right?
Yeah.
Because someone who did so much, how can he die in such a meaningless way of like a plane crash? Like that doesn't,
Mm.
like, for two people that meaninglessness. John F. Kennedy Jr., he died in
Yeah,
a
exactly. I was just
plane
coming to
crash.
that.
So this guy
Diana,
who's
Princess
Princess
Diana.
Diana, but like JFK Jr., this guy who would have become president someday, good looking, rich, lawyer, everything, right? He just dies. It's difficult for people to accept these things, and same with SSR. And I think that is where this thing comes from, this belief कि ये just like arc of the moral universe will always bend to justice. और इसीलिए like क्यू की बात कर रहे थे, तो क्यू से देश में आते हैं. You will see a lot of things that would have been questioned in the past. Not just they don't question it, they find out. So if the rupee is falling, it's a great thing that rupee is falling, because now we will export more, right? If I don't know, think of any other problem that you might think, and you will find a proper editorial article written on some very respectable uh, websites, 50-word edits coming out about these kind of things. And the reason that happens is because some people have accepted this abiding belief कि इन्होंने किया है तो कुछ तो लॉन्ग टर्म प्लान है. तो मे बी शॉर्ट टर्म में मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, क्योंकि भगवान की माया मैं क्या समझूं, mysterious god. And that's is so, be it Q, be it this, people who really want to accept, they've accepted it and they will not question it, rather they will try and find answers within themselves.
Hmm.
So this is an emotional decision, and so we can bring in a lot like facts and statistics and psychology and everything, but if someone has reached a point of decision through emotions, how can you fight them through with facts and figures? There
That's
is
very true.
This reminds me of something I heard on Mindhunter, okay, on
Oh,
Netflix,
yeah.
when they discuss why serial killers suddenly came on the rise, because there wasn't that phenomenon before. And the argument they put forward is that in the years before, the president was seen as a father. As in, he was a guy who you look to for, he kept everything in control. Ever since he started questioning them and the media got powerful, it disturbed the idea of this power figure. And hence people didn't have that one person who they could look up to. And that's why they went off
Interesting.
the rails.
This is precisely my theory about trads and raitas as well. So, say what you will about UPA, the government before. What happens between 2004 and 14 is India pulls up the largest number of people out of poverty in its history in that 10 years. That is happening. Along with that, we are moving into this world of internet where more people have voices,
More information also.
more information, and essentially people, women and people who are working for caste rights and all, they have a louder voice. Suddenly, as I was saying, these men who have traditionally been seen to have XYZ roles, men are supposed to conquer and earn and come home. There is this
Hmm.
ridiculous book called The Sigma Male. उसका कवर पता है
Okay.
क्या है? उसके कवर में एक बंदा ऐसे टक्सीडो पहना हुआ और हाथ में सोर्ड पकड़ा हुआ है. And that is essentially everything that you need to know about this trad phenomena.
Chad.
ठीक है? Chad. So Sigma, so basically alpha पता है ना, alpha male पता है ना, alpha male is like at the top. He's जिसके पास सारे like all girls come to him.
all the like academically sports में good,
हाँ,
everything
सब कुछ,
good,
सब कुछ.
good
That's
looking,
alpha.
बीच में body एकदम मस्त
हाँ.
surfing कर रहा है, Instagram पे फोटो डाल रहा है, alpha male.
वो
So
alpha
all the
male है.
women are attracted to them.
फिर
Go on.
फिर बीटा है. बीटा इज द नाइस गाय जो अच्छा, ही इज नॉट अल्फा बट ही इज अभी बीटा भी नेगेटिव बन गया, बट इन दिस आइडिया ऑफ दिस बुक बीटा इज द सेकंड ग्रेड ऑफ मैन एंड द देन देयर इज ओमेगा एंड देन देयर इज डेल्टा. Delta is the lowest grade of man, just like, and delta has become incel. And then there is sigma. Who's sigma? Sigma is a man who's alpha, but he sits outside. He doesn't give a fuck
He
about all this.
doesn't go by
He
the
doesn't
hierarchy.
give a fuck of this
He's like,
hierarchy.
मेरे को ये power structure वगैरह से कुछ
हाँ.
करने का नहीं है.
तो-
I'm just my own entity.
So trads are sigma,
Yeah.
and essentially, when you don't have any answer to what you want, what you will become, right? What will you be? You want to be a hotshot engineer. Women are also engineers, and other people from other caste groups are also. Whatever ideal of perfection that you can imagine, everyone can, if they want, achieve it. So then what is left for you, for this person or this group that has been taught कि भाई सब कुछ तुम्हारे लिए इस दुनिया में, then they end up without like any ideas, any role model, and then the memes happen. And
Yeah.
this is not just India or US, Japan. Oh my god, have you guys have heard of this term called hikikomori?
Hikikomori. Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Hikikomori.
Huh.
So hikikomori is this culture in Japan which is developed over time where there are these bunch of young people who just don't want to get out of a room. They want to be in that one room and they want to live their lives in that one room. They have the internet, they have games, they have everything. Their food comes to their own room and they are just there. They just don't want to go outside and face the real world.
Okay, and what about the money that it takes to do all
Because
this?
Parents'
society has reached after a point, and this had happened in US as well. The society gets to a level of prosperity where if you are at a certain level, you don't like. There's the hikikomori kids are still living with their parents. To your
Parents,
funny
yeah.
answer, they're still living with their parents.
Okay.
But they don't need to aspire for anything. There's nothing aspirational left. Now, a very weird.
It's like a max level nihilism in a
Huh.
way, right? You know,
Got
it's
it.
like yeah, I live here, I live in these four walls, there is nothing outside. I will interact with the world through this screen and I will get everything from my door coming in. I just don't care, right? And the thing is that Japanese culture is so polite in a way and they respect like individual freedom and independence so much that they're not able to do anything about this problem. They're just like, let them be. I mean, a lot of
Okay.
people are like, let them be. So,
Including their parents? It's all like,
I mean, it is obviously there are two ways to look at it. You can read up more on this. It's a very complicated sociological phenomenon in that society, which like I haven't really delved too deep into. So those questions will come from there.
But the reason that I brought them up is that in a weird way, that is what is happening in the trads versus Raita debate. These are right-wing people, usually from privileged groups within India who for who don't really have any like idealized form of themselves to aspire to. They do not realize it.
Hmm.
अब मैं ये बोल के इतना polite हूँ, they do not. They're young people. They don't realize this. In fact, a good place I will want to recommend is there is this YouTuber called ContraPoints, who
ContraPoints.
I love, absolutely adore. She has done two videos. She has done many videos, but two videos of her. One is called Men, and the other is called Incel. I think they're a very nice, rational way of kind of tackling this issue and fun. So if anything, if anyone wants to spend any time, I'd recommend them to check out these videos instead of
Yes.
going. But basically, she talks about the same things, about
Yeah.
the privileged angst that turns into majoritarian conservatism, that turns into in their world Chad Alpha Sigma, in our world Trads.
So, Kajol, out of all of this conversation, what is your takeaway?
I have one burning question.
Go
Would
on.
the trads have preferred a more Sanskrit sounding name or a Hindu sounding name? I mean, why have they gone with an English word?
That's very interesting. But they also have to participate on Twitter, na?
Point.
That's a great question. Actually, that is something that I will need to kind
It's
of
very interesting.
get more deep into why they did that, because things like because some of the things that you see, they will post pictures on Twitter about their Janeus, for example.
Okay.
Like these are kind of the things that they will do. Brahmin boy problems, things like hashtag Brahmin boy problems, things like that. So yeah, so this is a fair question. Why did they? I think it's an accident, to be honest. Like at some point they started like realizing that they are the most traditionalist, and then the name just stuck. I guess that could be the reason.
And
But
does that organization have a hierarchy? Like, are there known
it's
people at?
the interesting thing about that, and yeah, actually, that's a very great point, Kajol, because this is a completely organic movement from what I see, right? So, like QAnon was also a very organic movement. Justice for SSR, to a certain extent, started as a campaign, political reasons, etc., whatever reasons, boycott reasons, but it has become very organic now. So overall, I think. Trads, from what I know and what I see, is a primarily organic movement of young people, young, frustrated, very extreme viewed people just finding each other on the internet and becoming a thing, um, as
But
it often happens.
but that frightens me more,
It
because
does.
usually if there are leaders, then they have an end goal. Usually what has happened in India, and it is really bad. The Bully Bhai app
Mhm.
thing. Um, Even like some of the kind of the video beating of like Muslims and all.
Mhm.
But how it has, we just talked about Q, and we just talked about like the buffoons in the US, but a lot of mass shooters are coming
Yeah.
from these groups in the US, right? And I'm kind of glad that it hasn't happened in India yet, but I don't know how far we are from that place.
Hmm.
And that is something, because there is like at the end, Joe, so like we were initially talking about social media, right? What is social media is essentially मेरा take जितना scandalous होएगा उतने retweets और likes मिलेंगे मेरे को. अब
उतना
it
मैं
could be,
ट्रिगर करूंगा
हाँ
लोगों को.
हाँ, but it would be left scandalous जहाँ पे मैं बोल, I'm
हम्म.
sorry, am I allowed to say the truth?
We'll
I don't.
beep it. We'll
Yeah,
beep
yeah.
it.
Okay, but like like it gets a lot of retweets. If you badmouth Obama, it gets a lot of retweets. And on the right, you have like, so you have to keep escalating. The game of social media is escalating. Now, someone might decide, because this is what happened in New Zealand, right? That guy was from these forums who
Hmm.
live streamed himself going into a mosque and doing all that. I don't know how far we are from that in India at this point, and that is what worries me.
That is a very somber note to end
I'm
this
sorry.
podcast on. But Kajol, I ask you that question again. What are your takeaways?
Okay, it's definitely been a very big eye opener for me.
Hmm.
Um, it's also that I always assumed that the people abusing me on the internet were sitting in in a state far, far away, and they didn't have too much knowledge of the internet. They were just doing what they were told to do.
Hmm.
And this has completely changed that around.
Hmm.
Apparently, they have this own ideology they built up. They are young
Yep.
people who are
Yep.
believing in this. They're actually
Yep.
believing that they have a right to do it. This is not something I thought about.
There are certain kinds of people who you can talk to, and there are certain kind of people who you don't talk to, right? Like there are extreme people with extreme views who are just like violent verbally, violent physically. Cannot talk to them, like. But there are also people who are willing to listen. They will be aggressive with you. They will, argue with you in a language that you might find offensive initially, right? But I have found that the more conversations I have with a lot of people on the internet, I respond a lot on Twitter and on Instagram DMs, etc. I've found that 90% of these people are looking for attention. When you respond to them, they actually want to talk to you. They want, like, you explain yourself, they explain themselves, and just say thank you bhai, mujhe to laga hi nahi tha ki tum mere sath baat ho rahi hai. Again, privilege, male, man, English speaking, everything, social media influencer, blue tick, all of the things happen with me. So I'm talking from that perspective, so needed to add that. What I'm trying to say is that these kind of conversations do not happen either, which is us sort of also trying to understand what is happening to us on the internet. Why do we see these people hating, like, with so much hatred coming out day in and day out, and spending their time on the internet cursing people like Kajol or me or Raj, right? It's very
People love
interesting
me.
that way.
People just love me.
Oh yeah, of course people love
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
The one thing that I just want to say, with all, like, you are right. It's difficult to talk to a lot of these people because they will do sea lining. They will pretend that they're asking a question, but it's not. It's just to provoke you.
Hmm, hmm,
But I truly believe that Indian men, upper caste Indian Hindu men, young men, are going through some sort of severe masculine anxiety, masculinity crisis, and it is uh, because of all of the other good things that has happened in our society, which we have to be cognizant of. There are more women in workforce, more. um the caste is a problem, but the idea that caste is a problem is largely accepted right now.
hmm, hmm,
So
hmm,
these people don't have uh, any positive role models to look to, and we keep telling them that you are toxic, that you are the problem, I am the problem. People like me and Meghnad, we are the problem, we are toxic, our masculinity is problem, which is true. But there has to be something positive, something, a positive role model that needs to come out, that people emulate, and that is the only way to kind of change it. We either tell them that the you're toxic and you need to get rid of this trait, or we don't talk even talk about it and talk about class struggle, like I'm talking about the communist Twitter.
hmm, hmm, hmm.
Both of these are not solutions. There has to be a positive role model that you provide these people, that they can
Hmm.
emulate and they can become. And unfortunately
It's
we
very
have not been
hard
able to do
though.
it.
Raj, I mean, from Kajol's perspective. So, okay, Kajol, I stalk you on Twitter, right?
Yes.
And I'm obsessed with your account. The amount of shit that I see on your account is mind blowing, right? The kind of hate that you get, the kind of, like, I mean, what, like, you're talking about some politician in the UK and you're getting hate for that here. That makes no sense to me, right? But I see that for someone like you, I want to hear this out from you also. Like, I mean, if you agree with this, but from
Yeah.
what I've seen, it must be really difficult for you to empathize with these idiots who are
I
just like
don't
cursing you
empathize with
day
them.
and
I
yeah,
don't empathize with them. In fact, when you're saying
exactly.
they need a role model, what sort of role model would they accept? They'll have to
Hmm.
accept someone who believes in all of this shit. Na?
Hmm.
First of all, it will so it men these men, people like these men, like me and you, it has to come from that. The place that they are in right now, someone like Kajol, or some a Muslim person, or they un, you guys unfortunately are just bearing it, and you guys, like, there is no
Like the
pressure
burden
on
shouldn't be
the
on.
burden is not on you. The burden is on none of you. The burden is on people like me, people like Meghnad. The burden is on, because we are leftists for them. We are dhimmis for them, whatever we are for them. But like at certain point, we are them, right? In terms of our socio-economic background, we are them. The one thing that baffles me about India, baffles me about the PR and how much PR is successful in India is, how many times in the last 8 years have you heard about the humble background of our prime minister, about his chaiwala and about the things that he did? There is a guy who was prime minister just before this guy, who's from a minority community, who was an orphan, who lost his family in the partition strife,
Hmm.
then wins a gold medal in Punjab University, goes to Cambridge, becomes a PhD, becomes an RBI governor, gets India liberalized, and then becomes prime minister. Somehow that guy is not our hero. That guy is not worthy of making movies about, or at least biographies, good biographies about.
Because he was quiet, Raj. That's his biggest falling. Everybody painted him as a quiet guy, and he doesn't say anything, and he's being controlled by this higher power and the family which is controlling him, and therefore it doesn't matter. Na? Then the story doesn't matter anymore. When you are painting the messenger as someone who is incompetent, quiet, when you're the most powerful person in the country, then doesn't matter.
I agree. The one thing that
It's a lot to do with PR there. But okay, we are digressing a lot. Go on.
no,
Okay.
yeah, go on, Kajol. Sorry.
You asked me, did I feel sympathy for the people who abuse me?
Hmm.
It's an interesting incident. So yesterday I was interviewing a male stripper, okay,
Hmm.
for my podcast. And I was very clear that I wanted to present the questions in a way that he should not feel judged by me. So he was talking about how women ask the size of his tool, etc. And then he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't want to use that language with you. I said, you can use whatever language you want with me, it's fine. He's like, हाँ, आप leftist comedians तो कुछ भी बोल देते हो मोदी के बारे में. And I suddenly realized that I had met one of the people who might be typing on my timeline. But when I got to know him as a person, even though some of his ideas were vague, the sympathy did come. Like I got to understand more of him. So yes, when you tell me that what he's presenting on the internet, any troll, all the abuse, I can't see past that. But there are people at the end of it. I mean,
Yes. And getting to them is hard. Getting to them
yes,
is difficult, and the
yes.
only way to get to that is also to have conversations like these.
Definitely.
Look, this podcast was not intended for a liberal audience. This podcast is not intended for a right-wing audience. I'm using quotes all the way. This is intended for a thinking audience who want to know like nuances of social and cultural phenomena around them, which they may or may not know about, right? So again, guys, before we started this podcast, I'm going to end this, but before we started this podcast, I gave a big disclaimer to Raj, and I'm going to give it to you, Kajol, now, that this was an experimental episode. It will go through a lot of approvals. No, not a lot of approvals. I just have to show it to one person, and then if he likes it, then it's fine. But just a disclaimer, this might not ever go up. So if in case this goes up, then we did a great job, guys. Congratulations. High five. High fives all across. Yes. Thank you so much for watching ELI10. Raj, do you have anything to plug?
Please tune into the Bharatiya Janata podcast. This is not the Raj at all that you just heard here.
Yes.
That is a whole different Raj. And please follow me on Discourse Dancer on Twitter.
On Twitter, yes. Kajol, do you have anything to plug?
I have a podcast happening every Friday at 9 o'clock called Campfire with Kajol. The details are on my Twitter, which is Lol Rakshak.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching ELI10. You can follow me on @Meghnad on Twitter or Meghnades on Instagram, where I'm trying to become a motivational speaker now. So please come watch my reels. I do a lot of hard work around that. Why am I doing that? That is a question for another time. Thank you so much for watching.